Okay, so welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're going to get into something pretty big.
Yeah.
The origin of the universe.
It is a big one. Yeah.
Creation, coincidence, something else entirely. And you know what? This comes directly from you, the listener,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
from a fascinating survey conducted by a user named Thomas.
It really is fascinating. Thomas essentially twice polled this remarkable collection of AI language models,
Yeah.
6 months apart. And he basically just asked for their, one sentence conclusion on how the universe came to be.
Oh, cool.
And a brief justification.
So we're diving into those AI viewpoints, right?
Yeah.
And how they've evolved over time.
Exactly. Yeah.
The lineup here is really impressive. I mean, you've got Copilot, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini.
Yeah, these are the big names everybody knows.
Huge names. And then you've got these kind of newer powerhouses, right?
Yeah.
Grok, DeepSeek, and then some really intriguing experimental systems, too.
It's a who's who of cutting-edge AI, for sure.
So what are we trying to do here, right? And what's the mission?
Yeah, well, I think our mission is to really understand how these AIs reason about this question.
Right.
It's, fundamentally, where did everything come from? How did it all begin? And what can their collective responses offer us, as we ponder this ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's interesting to me, right? You've got all these different AIs thinking about this huge question.
Right.
And so let's go back to that initial survey.
Yeah.
What were the main perspectives that kind of jumped out at you back then?
So in that first round, we saw a pretty distinct split.
Yeah.
A lot of models lean towards creation,
Okay.
and they often pointed to, the universe's complexity, how everything's interconnected,
Right.
the precise tuning of fundamental constants,
Yeah.
what we often call fine-tuning.
Some Tuesday, yeah.
Copilot was a good example of a model that sort of hinted at this idea of creation.
Okay.
But then on the other hand, you had models like Gemini
Right.
proposing that the universe was more likely a coincidence,
Oh, okay.
just a result of natural processes playing out over time. Yeah.
So right from the start, you see this fundamental divide.
Right, creation versus coincidence.
Exactly.
And then Thomas, throws in his own idea, right? Inevitability.
Yeah, he throws a real wrench in the works there.
So how did that kind of change things up?
Well, I mean, his concept of inevitability is really tied to the idea that there's no time before space-time.
Right.
So the usual ideas of fine-tuning or even coincidence, they might not really hold up within the universe's own sort of self-contained reality.
So it just is.
Exactly. It just is.
Yeah.
And that's a very different way of approaching the question.
Okay, so then what happened in round two? I mean, how did the LLMs react to this new concept?
It's fascinating. Some models like ChatGPT and Qwen 2.5 Max, they actually doubled down on their creation stance.
Really?
They reinforced it in the second round and often, came back to that fine-tuning argument.
Okay.
So, for you listening, this is a great example of how some AI systems, they consistently see certain patterns.
Yeah. And interpret them as, signs of design.
Right.
But then we also saw a really significant shift towards natural processes.
Oh, interesting.
Didn't we?
Yeah.
A lot of models came around to this idea.
Yeah.
Claude 3.5 Sonnet, Llama 3.1 405B, Mistral Large 2.
Big.
Huge names. They all started to give these really strong justifications for the universe, emerging from just established laws of physics.
Right.
And that seemed to be a more, scientifically grounded perspective.
Right. It's not necessarily about creation.
Right.
It's just about, the laws of physics doing their thing.
Exactly. It's a natural process.
Okay. And then what about inevitability? Did that gain any traction?
It made a surprisingly big impact.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, several models like ChatGPT Gemini 1.5 Pro, even some of the Pi variants, they found Thomas's concept really compelling.
Okay.
And they actually changed their minds from the first round.
Oh, wow.
They started to grapple with this idea that maybe our way of asking the question about the universe's origin is limited by our own understanding of time.
Yeah.
Even Gemini 2.5 Pro refined its answer from coincidence to natural processes.
Oh.
And Perplexity Sonar reasoning very explicitly shifted to inevitability. So for you, this really shows that these AI, they're capable of reconsidering these really fundamental assumptions.
Right. They're not just stuck in their ways.
Exactly. They're learning and evolving.
Okay. Now, you also mentioned some inflection AI models.
Right. Luna and me.
Yeah. Where did they kind of fall in all of this?
Well, Luna was interesting. It leaned towards creation.
Okay.
Aligning with those more intuitive arguments about complexity and design.
Right.
Me's response also kind of went in that direction. sort of based on this idea of intricate order.
Okay, so let me try to sum this up, right?
Yeah.
We've got essentially three main viewpoints coming out of all of this.
Yeah.
We've got creation,
Yep.
often tied to this concept of fine-tuning. We've got natural processes, emphasizing those scientific laws. And then we've got inevitability.
Right.
Which kind of throws a whole question out the window.
Yeah, it really challenges the framework we usually use to think about it.
Yeah, and I think what's so fascinating about this is that you've got cutting-edge AI exposed to the same question, exposed to each other's reasoning.
And they come up with different answers.
And they land in all these different places.
Yeah, just like we do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a reflection of our own debates and struggles with this question.
Yeah, and it's so cool to see these, different forms of intelligence grapple with this same mystery.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you've got everything from intuitive notions of design to these really abstract philosophical concepts.
It's a spectrum.
Yeah. So for you listening, I mean, what do you think about all of this? Which of these perspectives, kind of resonates with you the most?
Yeah, and does the AI's exploration of inevitability, does that offer you a new way to think about the origin of the universe?
Right. Maybe even stepping outside, those usual ideas of cause and effect.
Yeah, maybe digging into things like the anthropic principle, computational universe theory, the philosophical implications of space-time. I mean, all of these things might give you even more to chew on.
Definitely food for thought.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, really interesting stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll see you next time.
See you later.